down! Touchdown, Colorado! And the Buffaloes find the end zone!
How about that?
Beautiful shot so that Colorado can celebrate.
Here comes Ralphie and your Colorado Buffaloes.
Time she'll take it. Maya's good from out top.
Let me hear you, Buff fans!
She's gonna fire the shot. Goal, Buffalo.
Holy cow! What a play by Colorado! For 3, they made him pay! McKinley. Play clock is at 4. McKinley down the lane on his way to the hoop, scoop it off the window, and it's up and good. And there's 1,600 in his career for McKinley Wright. He's got 6. He's the 10th Buffalo ever to score 1,600 points. It seems like every single time McKinley Wright steps in the court, he's moving up another milestone, setting another record. 1,600 career points for the senior point guard out of North Robbinsdale, Minnesota. He becomes the 10th Buffalo ever with 1,600 points. Buffaloes in a big comeback in the second half, winning, splitting the road trip on the road against the Washington Schools. They come from behind to knock off the Cougars. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, Scott Wilkie, my partner on the Colorado Basketball Network. Welcome into the Buffalo Stampede. We'll talk more about that Wazoo game. That was game 2 of that swing. Game number 1, though, Scotty, was a bad loss for Colorado. Buffaloes hadn't had a bad loss all season long. They had losses on the road against the top 10 Tennessee team, at Arizona, at UCLA. But they drop an 84-80 game to a team that hadn't won a game in Pac-12 conference play last Wednesday in Seattle against Washington. That was a head-scratcher for all of us.
Yeah, and Coach Boyle made a premonition that probably they wouldn't stay defeated all throughout the conference.
Right.
And it's too bad the Buffs had to be the one that they won their first game, but it was the defensive end that let them down, Mark.
You looked at the game box score. Colorado was very good on the offensive side. I say that with one caveat. They were 1 of 18 from downtown. But the offensive numbers look good. When you score 80 points in a college basketball game, you should win. But you think about Colorado basketball under Tad Boyle. One of the cornerstones has always been defense, and it was non-existent in Seattle.
Yeah, Washington, who wasn't a great offensive team coming into the ball game, really lit us up. And one guy in particular was averaging 6 points, scored 27 against the Buffs.
Yeah, Buffaloes could not find themselves defensively in that ball game. You wonder how that happens. The psychology of sports is fascinating. Scott and I have talked about it many times. A guy hits a shot early, and then you start wondering defensively. He starts believing the ball's going to go in, and all of a sudden it looks like they're throwing it in the ocean out there.
Confidence is an amazing thing with sports. You know, once you feel it, you feel like it's your night. And when you don't feel it, you feel like it's not your night. It snowballs. And Washington really lit us up, and really probably their best game of the year offensively.
I'd have to think so. Now keep in mind that this is a team that's not devoid of talent. They've got Quade Green, who's a McDonald's All-American. They've got some big athletic bodies out there. But still, Colorado could not get a stop in that ball game, and they couldn't hit some threes. We'll talk more on that on the other side. But after the ball game, one guy who was pretty impressive offensively in that ball game was Jariah Horn, and we heard from him after the game.
There's no question that they have talented guys. So, you know, in that situation, I feel like we got to continue to try to, play defense to the best of our ability. I think the best thing in that situation is not to try to let guys like that get going. And I feel like we did, the best job tonight at that. And I feel like, every year that I've been a part of, like, a team is going to have a game like that. And I think it's about how you respond. So just continuing to focus on our principles and just having more of a passion for the defense to end. Wherever we thought it was, it clearly needs to be improved. We need to improve upon that.
That was Jariah Horn after the Buffaloes fall 84-80 at Washington. As we continue with my partner Scott Wilkie, we talk about the way that the psychology works for Washington. They hit an early shot, start believing. It went the other way for the Buffaloes. We talk about the Huskies thinking they're throwing the ocean. The Buffs must have looked like they were trying to throw it in a thimble out there. They went 1 of 18 from downtown.
Yeah, and they were a very good three-point shooting team coming in tonight, one of the best in the conference. But, like we talked about, confidence can be good, it can be bad. If you don't have it on a given night, like the Buffs didn't, then it just feels like nothing's going to fall for you.
That 1 of 18, Colorado came into the ball game shooting 37% from downtown. They were number 2 in the Pac-12. And, Scott, out of the 17 misses, I'm guessing, what, 12, 13 of them were smack wide open shots.
Yeah, it was as a result of good ball movement. The ball's moving around, ends up in the right spot, the right time. Guys just couldn't knock them down.
Yeah, a tough ball game for the Colorado Buffaloes. And again, when you're a type of team that we think the Buffaloes are, they're going to be competing for a Pac-12 championship. That's not the kind of game you should be losing.
Yeah, I'm sure the Buffs are really stewing for a couple of days, sitting in their hotel rooms, and you think that they're going to get it out of their system, and they were able to do that tonight.
Interesting about college basketball games. You're going to what you want to do is force teams to take tough shots, and teams are going to make some tough shots. That happens against even good defensive teams. Tad Boyle, after the film breakdown, after the Washington game, said 60% of the points that Washington scored, 53 of their 84, came off broken assignments defensively for Colorado. That kind of tells you that maybe things weren't dialed in between the years.
Yeah, there was a lack of focus, a lack of attention to detail, and those things that I like to call dialed in. They weren't dialed into the game plan and what they were supposed to do in each situation.
Yeah, the Buffaloes then have to sit for a couple of days on the road. And in the COVID world in which we live right now, that becomes a tough deal. They can get together, have a little film study. They do work on things, but there's a lot of time on the road the way things work right now. You're rooming by yourself. You don't have a roommate. A lot of time to sit and think about what you just did or didn't do.
Yeah, a lot of the fun things you have on the road, getting your team together for meals and maybe going out for a meal or whatever.
Yeah, activities.
They're not happening anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd world away from home. The Buffaloes then lose the opener in this road swing. They come up with a big win, but it didn't start well. We'll take a break here at the Buffalo Stampede. We'll come back and talk about record-setting moments for McKinley and a heck of a comeback for the Buffaloes. That's next. Stepping in, Schwartz steps back, fires a three, shot won't go. McKinley, with that rebound, just blows Scott Wilkie out of the top 25. That's his fourth of the ball game right there. So that's number 25 all time, and Scott Wilkie now is bumped down to number 26. And you know the way it works. When you're outside the top 25, who cares, right? Oh, my broadcast partner is becoming more and more irrelevant all time is McKinley Wright, who's only 6 feet tall. Knocks the big fella here at 6'9" out of the top 25 in career rebounding. Back at the Buffalo Stampede, voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson, Mr. Irrelevant, Scott Wilkie over there. Colorado comes back and has a whale of a comeback to win and get a split on the road. Do you want to have any cathartic moment? Do you need to say something about getting knocked out of the top 25?
Because he's one of my favorite players, I don't mind. But otherwise, I'd be a little embarrassed if a 6-foot guard overtook me.
You know what, Scott? It's a different kind of basketball. Those records really don't apply anymore.
It's because he played more minutes than me. Let me say that.
That's got to be it. By the way, McKinley, 1,600 points. We talked about that in the first segment. He's 20 rebounds away from 600 and 6 or 7 assists now away from 600. 1,600, 600, 600. Never been done in Pac-12 conference play.
Never been done.
And by the way, during this homestand, he should get to 600 on both sides there.
4 games at home, so he probably will pass both of them. All joking aside, Mark, 600 rebounds for a 6-foot guard. It's very impressive.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Unbelievable. He's averaging about 5, almost 6 rebounds per game. So this game with Washington State, dire situation early. Colorado comes out, no defense once again, no offense. They're down by as many as 18 midway through that first half, and don't have McKinley Wright, who goes down at the 13:55 mark with a bruised knee. It didn't look good for Colorado.
No, I'll admit, I put my head down a little bit, Mark. I was thinking this is not their night. It's a 2-game loss on the road. But they turned it around completely. To flip a game like that, the way they did, is very impressive.
I'll give you a little inside baseball here. Scott looks at me during commercial break and goes, I don't think we're winning this one. I, of course, was supremely confident in it. Of course, the Buffaloes, though, start to come back. McKinley's out. Evan Batty was huge in the first half. Emotional leader. Had double digits in that first half to help the Buffs get back in it. They were down 7 at the half.
He was demanding the ball inside, very aggressive. And when he did score or made a good play, he was rallying the troops. Firing them all up, and it really helped the team.
So the Buffaloes went from 18 down. They pulled within 4. We're down 7 at the half. Come back. We'll talk about the second half after we hear post-game comments from head coach Tad Boyle and McKinley Wright.
This was a character win for our team and our program, and it was definitely gut check time in that first half, especially when McKinley went out. But I thought, Eli Parque defensively tonight. I mean, the key for us was we just started guarding. I mean, Washington State's young. I think their youth showed a little bit tonight, but our character showed and our toughness showed, and really, really proud of our guys.
First of all, our bench was very huge. Keyshawn played big-time minutes, when I went down. I thought he was huge. The bench was huge for us. And at halftime, we just talked about getting back to our defensive mindset, that killer instinct on defense. And in the second half, we had 5 kills. and that's who we try to base. That's what we try to base our program on, which is defense and rebounding. And that's just what Coach kept stressing us, told us at halftime, is that we can win this game, that we were right in the game. The last couple minutes, I got to go in there, and he was just preaching defense and getting stops. And once we get stops, to look around.
Well, there's the head coach and the point guard for the Buffaloes as Colorado goes plus 18 in the second half and pulls out the 11-point victory. I said in the radio broadcast, I said it's not quite a Willis Reed moment if you know your NBA history, but McKinley coming back out there and playing in the second half and was dominant in the second half for Colorado.
Yeah, not only like making an appearance out there just to be out there, but played very well and didn't let his injury affect his play in any way. Was dominant on the defensive end, distributing the ball. He had a great second half.
All 12 of his points, 7 rebounds, and 4 of his 5 assists came in the second half. Had a block and also a charge taken in that second half as the Buffaloes went plus 18 after the intermission. You know who's becoming an interesting player, and I think a fascinating player, is Eli Parque. Friends, if you look at the box score, you don't see much from Eli. He had 4 blocks, though, took 2 charges out there, and probably another 4 or 5 deflections. He's becoming a great defensive player for Colorado.
Yeah, the only other guard I've seen that's as good a shot blocker is Derek White.
Yeah.
Derek White was an amazing shot blocker at a guard. He was 6'6", though, which helps. But Eli Parque, he's 6'4", long arms, very good timing, and he likes playing defense.
Jariah Horn was big, I thought, in the second half. I thought Jabari Walker coming in. Jabari hadn't done much in the first half. Had 1 point in the first half on a free throw. Ends up with 9 points in the ballgame. He came out and played very well in the second.
Played very well, and I'm always amazed how he scores in so many different ways. He can shoot the 3 like he did. He hit one in the corner. He can take it to the hoop from the perimeter. Very versatile offensively.
This is an interesting schedule, and the way that things are working out in COVID in 2021. The Buffaloes now will come back home after getting the win over the Cougars, and on Wednesday night they're right back at it against the Cougars.
Home and home. Yeah. And usually in most situations it's hard to beat a team twice back-to-back like that. I don't care if there's a talent disparity, but the Buffs, I think, will have an advantage here at home.
I think there's not really a huge home court advantage, with the cardboard cutouts, although they seem very excited about the game coming up on Wednesday night. Well, the Buffaloes have got a home-heavy schedule coming up and have really got a chance. UCLA has gone down. The Buffs with the victory get themselves right back in the conversation. You can see behind us the nets, along with the cardboard cutouts, are up for volleyball. Volleyball finally back in the court. We're going to talk that coming up next here in the Stampede.
I actually felt a lot better than expected, I think. A lot of girls, we were just like, all right, let's just stay calm, play hard, and I think it came back a lot quicker than we thought it would. So it was nice and it was competitive, and we just kind of got after it. I think we were all really, going in with jitters, like, okay, let's just do this first game. And I don't want to say it's nice, but it gives you a little bit more confidence for the next game. We play them again, so it gives you confidence, like we beat them once, we can beat them again.
Well, there's some post-match comments from Jenna Ewart as the Buffaloes sweep the weekend, knocking off Oregon State. And Oregon State. Voice of the Buffs, Mark Johnson. We've got Jesse Mahoney with us. Well, we haven't had a chance here on the show to really talk about the scheduling since it officially came out, but that's kind of the norm now for you. You've got teams coming in, or you'll go someplace, play them twice, and that's the way it's going to be, right?
Yeah, it's definitely interesting playing 2 teams on the same weekend because you have a day off to make some adjustments.
Sure.
And I think around the league you saw the second match being more competitive than the first match, and that was the case this weekend as well.
How did it feel for you and the players to finally get back in the court in a competitive situation, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy for our players to be able to get back on the floor, doing what they love to do. It was a lot of fun to see them out there, and we had some great performances, so it was a good weekend.
Well, let's touch on a couple of those. We just heard from Jenna. She was outstanding for you over the weekend.
Yeah, Jenna's always great. Ran the offense the way it's supposed to be run. We had Brenna DeLuzio back on the floor for us
sure.
As well in the libero position, and so yeah, a lot of good performances all across the board.
Touch on a few for us. I know that Rachel Farah, for example, your transfer came in and played well for the Buffaloes.
Yeah, Rachel, she's a grad transfer for us. Really good off of 1 foot, hits the slide. Was effective in both matches. They didn't really have an answer for her there. We also had good performances from both of our outside hitters, picking up a lot of junk balls and taking a lot of swings for us. So, like I said, overall, it was a good weekend.
Yeah, good stuff. The Buffaloes get 2 victories over Oregon State. Both. They got Cal coming up, by the way, here in a couple of weeks. Actually have a little pause in the schedule right off the top.
Yeah, we're supposed to play Stanford this weekend. They just opened back up, but they haven't had enough time on the floor to be ready for us. So we get the weekend off and then back at it next week at Cal.
Well, great to see the Buffaloes back on the court playing volleyball. We also saw the tennis team back on their court as well last weekend.
It feels great. Like, we've had COVID this entire last year almost. So it's really nice to be back out on the court, and obviously we're all a little bit nervous, but it's great to come out here and just play and just be out here. I think today was pretty tricky. I was playing a pretty unconventional tennis player, so I really had to think and be patient. After the first point, I knew it was going to be something different, but I just had to stay focused, calm, and collected. And I feel great that I won, and that's all I could ask for. It definitely feels different. There's a bit of an atmosphere. There's a tiny bit more pressure than practice. Obviously, you're trying to make every single ball that you hit. Yeah, your teammates are watching. We don't have any fans this time, but it definitely feels weird. Having the masks as well, it makes it that tiny bit harder to breathe, but overall, it feels good. It feels nice. I'm happy to be back. It feels nice to finally take that first step. I'm glad it's going ahead. I think hopefully we just get better and better and keep improving and just give it our all for the season.
Great to see the tennis team out there after that sweep of Metro State 7-zip for the tennis squad here at the University of Colorado. As we continue with Jesse Mahoney, okay, kind of break it down. So you got a couple of matches under your belt now. Talk about your team offensively and defensively, what you saw out there from your group.
Yeah, I think, last year a really young team. This year we have a lot more veterans on the floor, so we're able to make adjustments, I think, on the fly, maybe in ways that we struggled to last year. Brenna in the back row playing liberos really helped us defensively, and she steps in and sets the second ball when Jenna takes the first ball. That's helped quite a bit as well. We've, like I said, all of our pin hitters had really good weekends. Sterling Parker dealing with a little bit of a shoulder issue, but still blocked exceptionally well. And then Jill and Melissa on the left side taking a lot of really good swings for us. So I think both offensively and defensively we did a really nice job. And Oregon State's a younger team. A lot of freshmen out there, so Cal's going to be a little bit more of a challenge for us.
I know you guys are excited just to get back out there, and maybe you didn't even notice it, but we've talked with football and basketball about this, playing in front of the cardboard cutouts. Did you notice at one point that the atmosphere is a little bit different?
I'm sure our players did. I don't really pay attention.
Right.
I'm, for whatever reason, kind of focused on the match, right? But yeah, it's a different experience. There's no doubt about it. But I think our players are honed in on being as good as we can be, playing the team across the net from us, and we're just happy to be out on the floor.
We talk about Rachel as a transfer, and I'm wondering, has the portal hit volleyball the way it has football and basketball? Is that becoming a big part of your world as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think because there is an extra year of eligibility and not every team is able to fund it, you're seeing a lot of kids that have graduated and are ready to transfer on because their school just doesn't have the funding for them, essentially. And so, every day we get someone contacting us, and every day there's more kids on the portal.
You bet. Well, it's great to have the season finally underway. Good luck against Cal next week.
Thank you.
All right, Jesse Mahoney, volleyball coach here at the University of Colorado, as they sweep Oregon State off this weekend, and then they've got the Cal Golden Bears the following week. We'll take a time out here on the Buffalo Stampede. When we come back, we're talking women's basketball.
Yeah, to turn the ball over 25 times and still have a chance to, tie the game at the end is actually pretty remarkable. But turning the ball over 25 times is equally remarkable, just in the wrong way. We started out well and moved the ball and we're confident, and turnovers definitely led to, good looks at the basket. And then the more you turned it over, the tighter we got. And I think that led to more turnovers and then tighter. And but yeah, our effort was not where it needed to be. Transition defense, definitely.
Well, there's comments from head coach J.R. Payne after the Buffaloes played only one of what was going to be two games last weekend. Ended up dropping a close contest down in Tempe, Arizona versus the Sun Devils. Back at the Stampede, voice of the boss, Mark Johnson. She's a junior, a redshirt junior, which makes her a senior academically, Aubrey Knight.
Yes.
Boy, you're getting up there. Experience now.
I know. It's been a long time. It feels like I've been here forever. I could say I've been here for like 10 years, but, it's good, though.
This has been such an odd existence for all of us. But talk about as a student athlete, how has this been for you since last late March?
Yeah, I mean, it's been really weird, especially like being here for 3 years without obviously coronavirus. I mean, for a lot of the new players, this is their normal with college athletics and just being in college in general. And so for a lot of people who have been here through like having a normal year on what it looks like, it's just completely different. There's just like, it's just basically sports and academics, and there's not much else to do, which can cause, you know, a lot of just like mental issues, just in the sense of, you know, you don't really have that outlet of doing anything, right? Because nothing is open. I mean, no one in the country right now has that. So, I mean, at least we get to play basketball, which is really good, you know, and having that connection with your team and having a little bit of normalcy in that. But it's just been a really weird year.
Yeah, and even with that, as you found out last weekend, there's a stop and a start and a pause, and then you're back at it. And so you kind of go through that. How was that win for you, being on the court against Stanford here a couple weeks ago?
Oh my gosh, I mean, it was a win that we needed, right?
Yeah.
I mean, last year when we played Stanford, both of those games were nail biters and heartbreaking on both of those. And so I think just being able to finally get that win, especially for the older kids who were here last year to experience that, and then I mean even for the newer kids, just to show that we, you know, we are really good when we come out and show how we play. And I mean, we beat the #1 team in the nation, so it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it was a great victory for the Colorado Buffaloes. They come back then. You went down to Tempe, and the Buffs had trouble holding on to the basketball.
Yeah,
25 turnovers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just didn't play a very good game in general. There was just like nothing was going our way. And I don't really know. We were trying to figure out, you know, why did that happen? And sometimes that's just how it happens in basketball. We just got to be able to bounce back and try and not let that happen this weekend.
Yeah, the Buffaloes dropped that one game. And then, of course, there was a pause with the Arizona program, so they did not have the game on Sunday. I mentioned a moment ago, we got soccer coming up. All the sports are really starting to get back rolling here in the spring semester. And Danny Sanchez and soccer are just about to get things underway.
It's honestly been great to be back. I think everybody's working hard, and they did the stuff, you know, over break to be prepared for season, and it's refreshing. I think the team's in a good little dynamic right now. We probably haven't had as much preparation that we usually have in the fall with non-conference games. It's also super exciting, and we haven't played in a year, and we should all be ready to get out there and just play our best. Not playing in the fall was a setback and disappointing for sure, especially being a senior, but we've all never played the competitive spring like we are now, and so I think we have to just be ready for first times, and this is a whole first time season in the spring, so it'll be exciting. We've been in like a season of so many unknowns recently, so it's nice to kind of have a tentative schedule, whether that looks, you know, positive or not. It's exciting to have a calendar for sure.
Well, it's great to see soccer getting back in the field, as well as all the other sports now that we get to the spring semesters. We continue with Aubrey night. We got the Oregon schools coming in this weekend. Talk a little bit, as an experienced player now, about this team. You got some nice youth on this team, good veteran leadership. How do you like the way this team's coming together?
I mean, I think that we're really showing, and I think last weekend at home when we played Stanford and Cal, we kind of showed that we have the capabilities of sweeping a weekend. You know, I mean, since I've been here, I think we've only swept one weekend. I think that was my freshman year. And so we have a lot of growth, obviously, to develop in that. But I think that we have all of the pieces. We have the youth, and we have the veterans, and we have the leadership. It's just a matter of being able to put that together every single day, which I think we're still struggling with.
How have you gotten better, you think, now that you've moved into your redshirt junior year?
I mean, I think that the biggest thing is like my leadership role has grown ever since my freshman year. I've kind of felt like I could be a leader on this team, and so I kind of just was developing that throughout. And then I have the experience of playing on the court and then not being able to play on the court. And I didn't play that much my freshman year, so you know, I have that ability to kind of coach up those like younger players, and then also having the experience of having my season taken away. So I kind of am able to negotiate with a lot of the other teammates.
Yeah, with the injury you've overcome, did you appreciate every game even that much more?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because it can be taken away at any moment. And that was kind of always something that was, you know, said. And, oh, yeah, don't take the game for granted. It can be taken away. But to, like, actually have it taken away is a different experience.
You don't know until it's gone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Challenging weekend. The Oregon State-Oregon swing or at home, either way, is always very challenging.
Yes.
Give us a quick comment about this weekend.
I mean, we always seem to struggle against Oregon. I'm not really sure why, but I think that we have a really good opportunity this weekend coming forward. I mean, we've always played Oregon State very well and haven't really ever been able to to chip them off, but I think that we all have the capability to do that as long as we come out and play the way that we know we can. And, playing in Boulder, we have that home court advantage, and so I think that it's going to be a really exciting weekend.
All right, when you're done playing, I want you to come and do games with me, all right?
Okay,
Isn't she great when we get her on the microphone? Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
All right, Aubrey Knight, she and the women will take on Oregon State on Friday and then Oregon on Sunday. She put a wrap this week in the Buffalo Stampede. I'm voice of the boss, Mark Johnson. We'll talk to you next time.